Hello everybody, my name is Bricky. Today we're talking balance and Back for Blood. You know, I was talking a little bit about my thoughts on the Battlefield beta. People seem to like that video. And normally I'm not a very negative guy when it comes to my thoughts on things, but you know, sometimes criticism is important, and I think I should levy some of it. I've been playing a lot of Back for Blood lately. Well, maybe not a lot, but a decent enough amount. And also through the beta and all that. And I found out that despite the issues I have with the single player campaign, which I will have a video on in the main channel, I have I got some problems here and there with the multiplayer, or the balancing of the multiplayer. And it's interesting. The gameplay you're seeing in the background is the first level as Jim. And now, if you know anything about Jim is, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the game, along with Doc and such. I don't really know who else. But Jim's main shtick is that he gives a 10% increased damage to weak point damage. And for every precision kill he gets a 2.5% stacking damage bonus up to 10 to give him a pretty sizable 25% damage bonus. However, the moment he takes damage, this is turned off. So, as I was playing this wonderful game as Jim here, I was kind of, well, let's just say that before this footage started, because I realized that I recorded a little late into the mission, or like, you know, about a quarter of the way through, I was already hit by about 1 to 2 Wretches. And if you know anything about Wretches, the vomit they hit you with is, oh, there's a lot of damage. I mean, not a lot of damage, but it kind of does damage and causes you problems, and it's nigh unavoidable. And then I think I get hit by another 5 Wretches in this one. I get hit by so many Wretches as Jim, and it was infuriating because Wretches have basically no counterplay of any kind, and it made me very mad. And that's when I was thinking, all right, it's balance video time. So if any of you have played Back for Blood, you know it's very much a horde shooter, akin to Killing Floor, Left 4 Dead, etc. I definitely would call it much more of a Killing Floor feeling game with Left 4 Dead as well as part of it. And definitely when you look at it, it definitely plays more like a Killing Floor, almost like a little bit of Rainbow Six with how I feel like the guns are operating. But they have a Left 4 Dead style thing with some of the healing and zombies and all that stuff. The problem, I think the biggest problem that I'm noticing is that counterplay is often very much non-existent depending on the enemies you're fighting. So there's a lot of things in Left 4 Dead, oh man, I've already started. Back for Blood that I'm not a big fan of. Trauma is a big one. If you do not know, on your health, there's 2 bars, a red bar and a dark red and black bar. The red bar is health that can be healed. The dark red is the one that literally cannot be healed unless you get to a very specific station, regardless of healing items. And this makes it so that if you end up having to deal with a large amount of zombies, or perhaps some much higher powered zombies, they will consistently bring your health down, 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 and then healing it basically means, well, you can't. Trauma is something that I think is one of the reasons why Doc is one of the best characters in the game, because she has trauma resistance and gives the team trauma resistance, as well as healing the team up to stop trauma from happening. However, with time, the amount of trauma you deal with and the sheer volume of damage the infected do on veteran difficulty, the medium difficulty, makes for some really slow gameplay, which I understand is the point, but it causes a feeling of practically futility. And that's the main topic I'm thinking of in this little talk, is counterplay and the futility of counterplay against certain enemies in this game. You know, take a look at Left 4 Dead, for example. In Left 4 Dead, the special infected, let's go with Left 4 Dead 2, because I think it's honestly better than the first game. It has basically everything the first game has anyway. In Left 4 Dead 2, there is a myriad of special infected. But you've got about, I think, 6 plus witch plus tank. Now, the 6 are 4 grapplers and 2 kind of manipulation / area denial characters. The 4 grapplers are Hunter, Smoker, Charger, and Jockey. And then the area denial is the spitter, and the boomer is the manipulation character. So there's one thing that is almost paramount across all these special infected, and that's the fact that they're all incredibly squishy. Even the Charger. The Charger is a 2-hit kill with a melee weapon, and generally only maybe 2 to 3 shotgun blasts, and he's the tankiest by a large margin. Every special infected is extremely squishy in Left 4 Dead because they're so powerful. A smoker can pin you from far away, and you need your teammates. A hunter has to pin you close, but it does the most damage out of all the special infected by a huge margin. Jockey can pull you away from safety, and Charger is a lot tankier and can push you out of position thanks to his charge. Combine that with the fact that the boomer, the thing that summons the infected and blinds you, is super squishy, and you have a shove mechanic to get him away from you in Left 4 Dead, and the spitter does insane damage, however has a bit of a wind up in terms of the projectile arriving, and does more damage the longer you sit in it, but is also made of tissue paper. See, that's the main difference, I think, between Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead, is that the enemies are significantly squishier, but at the same time are more deadly, ironically. The special infected in Left 4 Dead are far more powerful than the ones in Back 4 Blood, but they're so squishy to go along with it. In Back 4 Blood, let's take their version of a spitter, which would be the Wretch in terms of a similar thing. Spits a very like squishy character, not really high damage, but squishy character, and then range damage, and leaves an area of damage on the ground. The difference is that the spitter, when you get spit on, you hear the hawk, you hear the spitter sound effect, like the little piano where it goes ding, 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 ding. And then you also hear the actual spitter's creepy, gurgly noise. The Wretch arrives and pukes on you, and it's instant damage. It hits you instantly, and there is almost nothing you can do about it except kill him before he can do that, which, considering the sheer amount of enemies you have to deal with, is basically non-existent. Take a look at, say, the Tall Boy, for example. The Tall Boy has his weak point on his back shoulder, which wants to incentivize you to herd the Tall Boy around and allow your teammates to shoot him in the back. The problem is that often you are in a enclosed space, and when the Tall Boy arrives, he's just there. You can't get behind him because you're in a building. And not only that, but even if you weren't in a building, this game incentivizes you to stick as a team. And therefore, getting behind him and shooting him in the cyst is just not an option. And by the time you maybe hurt him long enough, that dude runs. He books it. The damn Tall Boy can go fast the moment he wants to go, and then he'll hit you for guaranteed damage. And that's the thing, is the damage a ton? Not really, but it's still nearly guaranteed unless he's far enough away. Ironically, the best maps in Back 4 Blood are the open maps because it allows you time to kill these big infected. Some of my least favorite enemies by far are the Hawkers, because in Left 4 Dead, in order to deal with somebody being pinned, you either shoot the thing pinning them, or you can shove. There's no shove mechanic. I mean, there's like a punching type. Well, there's kind of a shove mechanic, but it doesn't really work the same way. You can like kind of punch and push away regular zombies, but big boys, not so much. And the Hawker will therefore immobilize you, which causes instant damage. And then you will take consistent damage until a teammate runs up and punches you. If a hunter is on your person in Left 4 Dead, you shoot the hunter. If a charger is slamming you, you shoot the charger. If a jockey's pulling you, you shoot the jockey. If a smoker is pulling you, you shoot the smoker or the tongue, or you shove them. Or you shove the jockey or shove the hunter. When a hawker gets you, you have to run up and melee the person stuck. And the hawker is therefore still out there unless you want to try to deal with him first. But therefore, the person is going to take consistent damage over and over and over again until you punch them. If there was a hunter on a buddy, I would shoot the hunter and the damage stops. If there was a charger, I would shoot the charger and the damage stops. When the hawker hits you, I can shoot my teammates. It'll just hurt them more. I have to get out of my way to run up to them and then hit them. On another side note, the Reeker, for example. The Reeker is the variation of the Boomer. It has no weak point. It has a charge move, so it's not slow. And it forces the horde to run after you. So imagine a Boomer with the health and movement of a charger and no weak point. Like, what exactly is the counterplay to that? You can't shove like you can shove a Boomer. This thing just runs up to you and then it's guaranteed hits for the infected. The Crusher, the tall boy with the thing on his face, that thing grabs you and does damage. Now that one's a little bit easier to deal with because the main weak point is on his face. But even so, the way they move and the way how erratic they are, it's kind of a small weak point. Stingers. The Stinger, the small Stinger. That thing goes ahead and spits ranged damage at you, almost like a gun. You can't deal with the Stinger unless you kill it before it hits you, which often it will not. It will already be hitting you and you will be taking guaranteed damage. So many of these enemies are guaranteed damage and there is nothing you can do about it, which is the problem because trauma exists in this game. If this was like another game, Killing Floor or Left 4 Dead or any of these other ones, your health could be healed up. You know, if there's a Boomer around the corner in a building in Left 4 Dead and you panic shoot it, okay, you're gonna deal with the infected, you shove a few, you'll probably take some guaranteed damage, but you aren't taking trauma. You're taking your painful damage, but you're not gonna end up not able to heal it back. Because the way those games work is you take damage until you think, okay, it's time to use my health resource. And then once the health resource has been utilized, then you're burning the person out of their resources. For here, you're gonna take consistent, constant damage that you can then never heal up unless you do it immediately. And if you want to heal it up, you got to go to those med stations, which tend on veteran only have a singular free use or costs resources which you need for the rest of the campaign. So there's your predicament. The wretch arrives, pukes all over you like an asshole, makes you unable to go to that area, and then you can kill him. The tall boy is in an enclosed space, runs up to you, beats your ass, and then you can kill him. The hawker stuns you from a distance. Maybe you can shoot the hawker later, or your teammates do, but then they have to run up to you and punch you. You're taking consistent damage. The Stinger does the same thing. There's so much auto damage within a complete lack of any kind of counterplay. And the problem is that this is so rooted in the game's fundamental nature, because if you remove trauma, I think the game would suffer. Trauma is a mechanic that this game has been built around. If you made the special infected squishier, that might not work either, because then they might still end up, certain things like the wretch would still get their damage in because they just show up and do it. Whereas people like tall boys, well, I mean, same thing, close space. It would just make it easier for the big open areas, which are already kind of easy. But then the game decides when the higher difficulties arrive to just shove special infected at you like mad over and over and over. That's their way to increase balance. And difficulty is just to chuck special infected at you like crazy. So it's So that you know why veteran is so damn hard compared to recruit is because you're taking guaranteed damage over and over and over again, never endingly, and they're upping the special infected spawn rates. So not only are you taking guaranteed damage, but you're taking guaranteed damage more often. So, and then trauma occurs, you can't heal it all up, and you're wondering why people are having such a hard time completing veteran modes. It's honestly something that recruit makes it like feels way too easy, and it makes characters like Doc feel practically insta takes, but then it makes the higher difficulties way too hard. So it ends up becoming this really annoying act of having to deal with so many various things against you while simultaneously like not having a good difficulty experience from recruit. Also, Jim's ability to make it so that he fixes his like health, not fixes, but more so he has like the health thing where you take damage and then by taking damage you lose your stacking damage buff. Yeah, friendly fire turns that off too. So even if a wretch doesn't take it off, your teammate accidentally shooting you will also turn it off. I like Jim, man. I just want to play some fucking Jim. So, yeah, there's a little rant for you. I was gonna call this Back for Blood something counterplayer. I don't know. I'm just gonna call this a rant about Back for Blood's lack of counterplay. There it is. There it is. I just want to play my boy Jim. I honestly have no idea how to fix this either. No clue. This game has so many various moving parts that removing trauma, I don't think is the way to do it. Making special infected squishier, I don't think is the way to do it. I honestly don't know what exactly is the right way to deal with it. I have no clue. The game was built so reliant on the other factors of the game that I have no idea how to fix this. But all I know is that if I'm not playing on recruit, I'm not having a fun time. Fuck Wretches, man. I'll see you next time.